If you give me attention just a moment, I'd like to say that you are welcome to the first White House Jazz Festival. I hope we have some more in the future. This is an honor for me to walk through this crowd and to meet famous jazz musicians and the families of those who are no longer with us, but whose work and whose spirit, whose beautiful music will live forever in our country. If there ever was an indigenous art form, one that is special and peculiar to the United States and represents what we are as a country, I would say that it's jazz. Starting late in the last century, there was a unique combination of two characteristics that have made America what it is: individuality and a free expression of one's inner spirit in an almost unconstrained way. Vivid, alive, aggressive, innovative on the one hand, and the severest form of self-discipline on the other. Never compromising quality as the human spirit burst forward in an expression of song. At first, this jazz form was not well accepted in respectable circles. I think there was an element of racism, perhaps, at the beginning, because most of the famous early performers were black, and particularly in the South, to have black and white musicians playing together was not a normal thing. And I believe that this particular form of music, of art, has done as much as anything to break down those barriers and to let us live and work and play and make beautiful music together. And the other thing that kind of separated jazz musicians from the upper levels of society was the reputation that jazz musicians had. Some people thought they stayed up late at night, drank a lot, and did a lot of carousing around. And it took a few years for society to come together. I don't know, I'm not going to say as president whether the jazz musicians became better behaved or the rest of society caught up with them in drinking, carousing around, and staying up late at night. But the fact is that over a period of years, the quality of jazz could not be constrained. It could not be unrecognized. And it swept not only our country, but is perhaps a favorite export product of the United States and Europe and in other parts of the world. I began listening to jazz when I was quite young. On the radio, listening to performances broadcast from New Orleans. And later, when I was a young officer in the Navy in the early 40s, I would go to Greenwich Village to listen to the jazz performers that came there. And with my wife later on, we'd go down to New Orleans and listen to individual performances, and on Sunday afternoons on Royal Street, sit in on the jam sessions that lasted for hours and hours. And then later, of course, began to learn the individual performers through phonograph records and also on the radio itself. This has had a very beneficial effect on my life. And I'm very grateful for what all these remarkable performers have done. 25 years ago, the first Newport Jazz Festival was held. So this is a celebration of an anniversary and a recognition of what it meant to bring together such a wide diversity of performers and different elements of jazz in its broader definition that collectively is even a much more profound accomplishment than the superb musicians and the individual types of jazz standing alone. And it's with a great deal of pleasure that I, as President of the United States, welcome tonight superb representatives of this music form. Having performers here who represent the history of music throughout this century. Some quite old in years, still young at heart. Others newcomers to jazz who've brought an increasing dynamism to it and are constantly evolving, striving for perfection as the new elements of jazz are explored. George Wein has put together this program, and I'd like to welcome him now and thank him and all the superb performers whom I met individually earlier today. And I know that we are all have in store for us a wonderful treat as some of the best musicians in our country, in the world, show us what it means to be an American and to join in the pride that we feel for those who've made jazz such a wonderful part of our lives. Thank you very much.